I don't know what's going on, but hopefully it's fixed now. Unfortunately, I think it's all right now because I don't know, for some reason the device that I usually use is not working right. So we here. Let's get it popping. Yeah, yeah. Bing, ding, ding, ding. Yeah, yeah. Da, 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 da. What's going on, y'all? Urban Therapy with Sun 752, and this is the Daily Go Getimism. As a matter of fact, it's the daily. It's the Daily Go Getimism show. You think it ain't when it is? You think it won't when it is? We are here and we are in motion. We do this thing, taking off fast, long, and everything is gonna be alright. Talking about understanding DEI tonight. Understanding DEI. Well, y'all know, thanks to your 47th president and the other president, the real president, Elon Musk, we are learning a lot about DEI, which you may not have even been familiar with or even thought about before this past presidential election cycle. But here we are in the thick of things, and when you hear about people losing jobs, getting fired, and a whole lot of things being shaken up. Sometimes we take some time out to understand things that we thought we already knew. And sometimes the way that things are presented, we have to get to know something all over or relearn something to be retrained in something that we thought that we were already well versed in. So we're going to talk about understanding DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's what DEI stands for. Now, what it stands for and who it works for can be two totally different things. So I thought I would take a little time out tonight and get some clarification going. Try to clarify exactly what people are talking about when you hear all of this hoopla, all of this talk, all of this rhetoric, all of this propaganda about DEI. Now, DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion, but it can mean one or two specific things depending on who is using the term. You know, it's supposed to make sure that in workplaces, particularly in federal workplaces where equality is the standard, it's supposed to make sure that people are not excluded based on a variety of things that they may not be able to control, like your race, your weight, a handicap, your gender, your skin complexion. A lot of things may come into it, or your lifestyle. Well, you can control your lifestyle, but the bottom line is, you know, because this country has preached inclusion for so long, but has practiced exclusion, then we had to kind of make some things the law of the land to make sure that people weren't being discriminated against. Did it work all the time? No, but you have to keep trying. It's just like when you're trying to make a lot of money. Let's say if you're trying to get rich, it may not work the first or second time that you try to make it happen for yourself, but you have to find the key. So you're gonna probably have to stop doing some things and keep doing some things, and learn a little bit more about the moves that you're making in order to make this thing a little bit better and to achieve the success that you're looking for. So understanding DEI. So maybe, possibly, and hopefully, just what I explained to you might have been a little different than what you thought that DEI was. Last year, a lot of people, and probably this year too, if you really haven't taken a strong look at it, a lot of people thought that or think that DEI just is like a code word for black or colored, dark, you know, people of color, you know, because it does seem to cover black people and other people of color a lot of times when we start talking about opportunities for employment, advancement, and things like that. But when a racist is using the term DEI, they are often talking about black and brown people. And they're talking about them in the context of not thinking that they are qualified to be in certain positions. So it has become a definite derogatory term, but it doesn't mean what you think it means. And the people that it has benefited over the years may be a lot different than what you think those people are. Because black and brown people have not been the only people who have benefited from DEI. So when you understand exactly who has benefited from it, then you start to kind of open your mind up to why it may be an attractive thing for some people and a very unwanted thing for other people. Who does DEI include? Who does DEI include? DEI includes just about everybody except for the prototypical, stereotypical white male. That's basically who DEI excludes. because they have basically been the power structure and the ones who have benefited from being grandfathered in, from what's the word that applies, like when your family has had a lot of money, and you have inherited not just the money but the power. What do they call that? There's a word that my vocabulary is escaping me right now, but it'll come to me in a little while. You know what I mean? You know, it's late, and sometimes it's just not it's not punching through. What's going on, Stacy White? Thanks for coming on through. And T Carry Right, morning, noon, and night. It's always great to have my peoples going directly into your site. And Dimples D's, what's good? How you feeling? Shirley Cheryl, the world's most precious and greatest pearl in the world. Shirley Cheryl, the world's most precious and greatest pearl in the world. What's good? And Ashaka Kenzie, thanks for coming through. So yeah, we're talking about DEI tonight. Talking about DEI, understanding DEI. What is the nepotism? Thank you, Kim's Wim. Thank you, nepotism. White males, American white males have benefited from so much nepotism. Nepotism, whether it was family nepotism or whether it was just, straight up and down good old boy racism. So what are we talking about? What are we doing? So when you understand that mostly white males have been excluded or don't fall under the umbrella of DEI, they can't say that they have been discriminated against because they were already in the workplace. They were already there. They are the ones who have to include everybody else. So instead of saying that they have been discriminated against or excluded, what they're saying is other people have not been hired based on their merit. So the concept is supposed to be that who is supposed to be the best person for the job, the most qualified for the position. That's the rhetoric that they say that DEI is supposed to, that's supposed to be the reason that we want DEI excluded, because it's not based on your merit. It's based on who you are, what your bloodline is, what your country of origin is, what your gender is, what your sexual orientation is, what your personal physical handicap might be, things like that. Now, when you really think about the things that fall under DEI, you probably, if you're a rational, I don't want to say liberal minded because sometimes liberals go a little too far, but let's say if you're not a bleeding heart racist, then you probably think like, well, what's wrong with this program? Like, what are the flaws in it? Like, why do people have a problem with it? So let's do this. Let's look up the people that DEI that fall under the umbrella of DEI. What kind of people fall under the umbrella of DEI? Okay. All right. So here you go. Race and ethnicity: Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, African Americans, Hispanics, American Indians, and Alaska Natives. These are typically people who would have been discriminated out of the workplace based on just their race at different times in the United States. Now, what we like to do is pretend that discrimination ended after the Civil Rights era. Some people might even say when Black people started being able to have their own shows on TV, then you can't say that they're being discriminated against. So discrimination ended when the Jeffersons came on. Good times? Definitely the Cosby Show. Well, it's just not true. you know, but nonetheless, okay. Sexual orientation, LGBTQIA, whatever. Okay, many times in the workplace, gay people have had to hide the fact that they were gay in order to get jobs because some people would not hire them based on their sexual orientation. All right. Disabilities, people with disabilities, handicaps, missing limbs, possibly mentally challenged, things like that. Because you can be mentally challenged and still be functional enough to do certain jobs. So, they didn't think that it was fair that just because you have a disability, like suppose you fought for this country, you were a military vet and you fought for this country and you got hurt. You got hurt in the military, and when you came home, you still wanted to work. There are some people who consider people with disabilities to be unsightly, and there was years ago. Zsa Zsa Gabor, I think it was Zsa Zsa Gabor or Ava Gabor. I think they were sisters. One of them came under a lot of scrutiny because they requested that somebody who was in a wheelchair not be pushed up to the front row of where they were performing. And a lot of people got on her. One of them, it was either Zsa Zsa Gabor or Ava Gabor. And there was so for some people, they just don't like to see that. They don't like to see people who have handicaps, and there have been workplaces that discriminated against people who did. So there's something that you have to take into consideration. Gender, women. They're not talking about men, regardless of what kind of men you might be talking about. Women. There are women have been discriminated against the work in the workplace for generations. There was a time in this country where women were they weren't allowed to vote, they weren't allowed to own property, they weren't allowed to. But let's just stop there, because that fits within the context of what we're talking about tonight. But yeah, women. So there have been even religious practices that said that women shouldn't work, they should stay home, take care of the domestic duties, take care of the children, raise the babies, basically participate in home economics, but they shouldn't be out there working and bringing home the bacon. All right, age discrimination is a real thing. It's a real thing. Let's say you didn't make enough money to retire at 65 years old, 67 years old, or whatever. So you want to work well into your 70s, or however long your body may be functional in order to work. But there's some people who say, well, no, I don't want to, I don't want to work. I don't want anybody working here in certain positions that may not be alive in a few years or can't keep up or whatever. So there are ways that you can get around age discrimination, like maybe, or even weight discrimination, or even disabilities. Like there are some jobs that require you to be able to lift 50 pounds in order to work there. Jobs like warehouses, jobs like housekeeping, jobs like maybe construction. There are jobs that require you to take a physical before you can do those jobs for your safety and for their insurance reasons. So, that's something you have to take into consideration. What's up, Jeff Sprayberry? Says Zsa Zsa was the one that slapped the police officer. Was she? Okay. If Zsa Zsa was the one, I'm gonna look it up in a minute. Religion. People of different religions. You don't have to look any further than Muslims. There was an actual Muslim ban in this country not that long ago, in the same administration that is the new administration now. So if y'all, it wasn't that long ago. I know y'all remember when Donald Trump implemented the Muslim ban. It was supposed to be to reduce terrorism, but you know what that's about, and you know what the people who are Muslims look like. So DEI covers that. Culture, people of different cultures. Different cultures. Now, cultures can cover lifestyle, it can cover religion, it can cover race, it can cover food. Culture is that's a broad that's a broad subject, or that's a broad umbrella of people that you could discriminate against, and DEI was supposed to include them. Veteran status. So, you know, we already kind of talked about this. Veteran status. When, see, all right, the Vietnam War was a very unpopular war for a lot of Americans. You know, that was the first war that soldiers came home and didn't come home to a hero's welcome. So many people blame the soldiers for the situation going on overseas, because the Vietnam War was also the first war that was ever televised. So on TV, people were able to see the fighting and people being hurt. Now I don't know how much they showed on the TV at the time, because I was very young. I was born in 1970 and the war was still going on. We didn't pull out of there until like 1974, 75. So yeah, all through almost all throughout the 60s, I believe that the Vietnam War started around the time when Kennedy was alive. So he actually was responsible for the Vietnam War, and you know that shit wasn't even registered as a real war. Revo the Pro, what's good? Thanks for coming through, y'all. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all. Mucho, mucho, mucho. So yeah, so those are the people covered under, goddamn, under DEI. I'll go over it real quick, real fast. Again, race and ethnicity, sexual orientation, disability, gender, age, religion, culture, and veteran status. Now, when you read those people who were qualified to be hired or not discriminated against, or DEI, you might ask yourself, like, well, what's the problem? Like, why wouldn't those people be able to get hired? Now, the idea is supposed to be that they only got hired because they had those affixations associated with them: race, religion, culture, sexual orientation, was it veteran status, disability, whatever. The thing is, there's no way to prove that. Nobody was saying that you had to hire them because of that. You can still hire the most qualified person. It's just that you can't exclude a person who may be qualified because of those things that they may have going on with them. And America cannot say that they didn't practice discriminating against those kinds of people. A lot of times when we think about racism and discrimination, we think we first think about black people, then maybe we think about Hispanics, and then maybe we think about Asians, and then anybody and everybody else. But that shows the limitations of our education and our ability to obtain information and share that, because there shouldn't be any question about who is who and how certain things work. Now, as far as DEI was concerned, until Trump ran on his second term, I didn't hear a lot about this DEI thing. I didn't hear a lot about it. There wasn't a lot of chatter about it. You know, After COVID, to be honest with you, because I've managed all of my all of my life. I've always been a manager. I saw. I've never seen discrimination. I've never been on a job where we discriminated against anybody. Even in private business where I ran my own business, we didn't discriminate against anybody. You know, if you could do the work, you can get paid. You can get a job, you can get paid or whatever. You know, like Jalen Hurts says, we're gonna keep the main thing the main thing. Let me see. Revo the Pro says, do you remember when Kennedy was president? Yeah, I read all about it. I wasn't alive, but yeah, I read all about it. So I remember when he was president. I remember when Franklin Delano Roosevelt was president. I remember when Thomas Jefferson was president. I remember when George Washington was president. I remember when they say the first black president was, all right, but we ain't gonna get into it. All right, Gavin says, I don't know if race, gender, and religion should be considered the same as veteran. Well, no, they're not. They're not. You know. It's I think they just put veterans in there so people would be for it. Okay. Well, I'm glad you said that, because my question is, what would make you not be for it? Like, what problem? Like, forget about politics for a minute. In your personal life, what problem would you have with it? Because sometimes I think we get caught up in the propaganda and what the news outlets are saying and what the media outlets are saying and what politicians are saying and whatever. And somehow we relate that to ourselves, even if it doesn't apply to us at all. So I'm interested. I'm interested. And you know, you can call into the show, 267-874-1949. You know, if you don't feel like writing it all, you know, whatever, you can call into the show. We can talk about it. But I'm interested to know, what problem would you have with it personally? Because, you know, I hear a lot of people saying that, you know, these immigrants are coming over here taking our jobs, but then you ask them what jobs are they taking, and they don't have answers. So then oftentimes they're not speaking for themselves, they're speaking for other people. I mean, personally, I wish that they could just keep it 100 and just say what they really mean. Like, say, like, listen, I just don't like those people, because I can actually relate to that. Like, look, I just don't like them. They rub me the wrong way. It's a preference. We have a call on the line. All right, let's see. Hold on.
You have a call from.
All right. Caller with the last numbers 7202. Welcome to the Daily Go Getimism Show. Thank you for holding. Thank you for calling in. What's on your mind tonight? What's good?
Hey there. Well, I just wanted to, honestly, I don't know how to talk now on there. It's like every single time there's a discussion of honestly any of these issues, really, when it comes to race, gender, whatever, it seems like it all kind of blends into one sort of set of talking points. But I saw DEI was on the description of the live, so I figured that would be the starting point. But what were you just jumping off of?
All right, so what are your thoughts?
Well, I think that when it comes to where our tax dollars are going, I think a lot of people are mistaken. I work in schools. I work cleaning schools, public schools and stuff, and it's in one of the most liberal areas in the nation. And so I'm seeing what the boogeyman is for a lot of these, whether it be like the MMA podcast kind of guys, if that's enough of a generalization, but like just kind of the guys who are sitting back and like Joe Rogan types, like but not Joe Rogan himself or anything, but just like the boogeyman of this liberal sort of sweep through our education system and everything. And I see what a lot of these guys are putting on as the case or as reality, and I see what a lot of the liberal boogeyman, what it actually is.
Hold on a second. Yeah, I don't know what kind of phone or device you're using, but you sound a little distorted. You're not very clear, and I want to make sure that the callers can hear what you're saying. I want to make sure that I understand you too. But I don't know.
I put you on speaker.
Okay, yeah. You sound better off speaker.
Thank you. Yeah, no.
Much
better. So, which point was I focusing on that you were?
You were saying that something was the boogeyman of the liberal agenda, something like that.
So I'm over here in the Pacific Northwest, over here in the Oregon school districts, near Portland and all that. And so I'm basically at the forefront of this big boogeyman of the liberal education movement, and that pretty, especially here in February, that pretty specifically focuses on the DEI and the racial discussions in the classrooms that is going on and everything, and also in how that relates to gender and diversity and LGBT, whatever. And I think that it's pretty, once a lot of people go and show up in their classrooms that their kids are showing up in, I think that they can clear up this boogeyman that a lot of podcasters or radio personalities or politicians or whatever media. I think that what's important is that like a lot of people get involved in what they're actually talking about. See, a lot of the issue was with the education system. I think seeing the biggest subjects that these guys talk about, seeing them talked about in like a coastal elite sort of mindset, in how they talk to kids about it or how kids perceive it and whatever, it all gets cleared up once you step into your child's classroom, once you step in your child's doctor's appointments and you see what's going on and you see what's actually taking place in the country, good or bad, you get a better perspective on it. And I think that's what a lot of people need to do.
Okay, what I'm trying to figure out is what that has to do with DEI.
I mean, they use DEI as a placeholder for stuff like, gender and race and whatnot being discussed in classrooms or being employed in medical fields or the workplace. And I think that once you get involved in actually how those apparatuses operate, you get to have a better perspective on DEI, and it becomes less of it's a big deal. Because I mean, that goes from diversity to that the whole subject of diversity is such a blanket statement. It's talking about disability versus race. I can get my leg broken and I'm a disabled person, or I can be born black and I'm a black man. And like it's that's sweeping through the entire subject of it all is these actual governments and political economic apparatuses.
Okay. So when I think about DEI, I'm thinking about the workplace. Because and you could possibly talk about it in terms of like what schools that you would be able to go to and things like that. Like there has been discrimination over the years about schools only letting certain people in, and not just based on those who could afford the tuition, but there were certain schools that practiced let's just say they wanted a certain look of their student body. So but I'm not sure if DEI covered that, but if it did, I could understand it. Now, as far as curriculum is concerned, DEI doesn't cover that. It's one of the biggest misconceptions that are out there nowadays. So what's being taught in schools has more to do with what you would allow in your district. But there is no DEI as far as like saying that we have to study these cultures and this religion and that and this sexual orientation and women and things like that.
Well, sure there is.
Huh?
I mean, kids have to go to school.
Right.
Legally, they have to go to school, and they legally have to be, if they're relegated to a public school curriculum, that has to, in some form or another, address that question of DEI in the workplace. And I mean in the workplace, like talking about how those kids are going to grow up to be put in jobs and how those laws are going to be reflected and how the history of those laws exist. Those have to be addressed in the public school curriculum. But even if you took public school curriculum out of this entirely, this still is important that you address the actual, you go and you get involved in the actual thing that is being discussed within, diversity hires or whatever, or diversity jobs or something like that, and you get involved in the legal end of things, and you go and you do the research. I think that the boogeyman gets a lot less scary once you recognize what DEI actually represents culturally. And culturally, I think it's just talking. I think that culturally, a lot of people are using DEI as a way to talk about just race in general, because it comes to the bottom line of their job and their employment and their economic opportunity. And I think that kids can see that as well.
Well, the problem is that when it comes to things like DEI, or when it comes to affirmative action, or when it comes to civil rights, a lot of times the person who is talking about it has a lot to do with the perception that's going to be put out there from the person who either knows about it or is trying to learn about it. So if a racist is talking about DEI, unfortunately, many times they're talking about black people or black and brown people.
Exactly.
Now, if somebody who is actually responsible is talking about DEI, they're probably talking about exactly what it is: diversity, equity, and inclusion, meaning that you will be considered regardless of what your sexual orientation, religion, culture, gender, race, and things like that are. But it doesn't mean that you will get hired even if you don't have the qualifications. So a lot of people who are racist or bigots are getting the whole concept of DEI messed up. And because we are in the information age these days, but in the also short attention span days, many people are not Googling, they're not researching, they're not looking up, and they're not even asking people who may know. So we're getting the wrong impression of what something is, even though the information about it is right there.
Yeah.
So
I'll watch a coworker of mine look over a union contract, detail, and they will talk about it, and they will hear it discussed amongst, their peers or whatever, and then they'll come to us, or they'll come to their coworkers, and they'll talk about how does this impact me? How does this impact me? And we'll, explain, okay, here's how that rule can be employed, and here's how that rule can be, used against you. And then they will take time and they'll go, okay. And then suddenly, somebody they know comes along and then says some shit or says some stuff about how they, are going to be, screwed over in this big deal or screwed over in this next contract. And then they'll wipe over their minds completely, almost reset, and then be like, oh, I can't do it because of this thing or another. And the same thing is being done with DEI, and where it's like people will forget that diversity and equity and inclusion are three independent words that are formed into an acronym that has been presented as DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Right. Those are three different subjects, man.
Right,
Those are three different ideas.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that and broke it down, because you know good propaganda is not really better than bad propaganda. You know, at the end of the day, if it's propaganda is meant to anything that comes from one point of view is a propaganda from that point of view, whether they acknowledge it or not. The stuff that matters is whether or not that propaganda can be utilized against you, whether or not you know it. Right.
And so somebody who's dumb, who sees an advertisement that's telling them to purchase a product, is going to go, see, I don't fall for that propaganda. And then they go and they buy Coca-Cola because they heard that it, quenches your thirst or some shit.
Right.
And so, yeah. Everything comes
one of the biggest problems with that is that depending on the source that it's coming from, it can be very influential in a negative way. Even if it's a good thing, it can come across in the wrong way, depending on the source. And unfortunately, the leader of our country, the president of our country right now, is not interested in putting forth accurate, researchable information.
I think he's a little too old to know what he's interested in, to be honest. If you look at him on that stage, you look at him gazing around, he's a little too old to know what he's interested in, to be honest.
Well, I think he's lived a life of being very deliberate, and I think he knows exactly what he wants. I just don't think that what he wants is good for anybody else besides himself and those who are associated with him. Now, because he's very rich, he's very influential. He's rich and he's popular. And you don't need too much more than those two things in order to get people to be on your side and to follow your ideas. Regardless of how ridiculous they are. I mean, because when you really think about it, we're talking about a felon and we're talking about a sexual assailant. And this is by conviction. This is not hearsay. This is not anybody's opinion. Like,
well, they'll tell you that's a wrong conviction or some shit. They'll tell you
exactly.
Yeah, you're gonna call that a conviction? Well, you can call this and that a conviction.
Right.
They'll take any legitimate process and they'll tweak it and throw it on its head and make you try to seem like you don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. So because he has such a big fan base and follow and such a large following, people are retooling and manipulating ways to make him right when they know in their heart of hearts this is not really a good thing, or this probably isn't the best. So they have taken on the techniques that he has employed in order to make their point, because at the end of the day, Donald Trump equals money for networks. So whether you're a liberal network or moderate or right wing, you're still going to put him in, have him in your news cycle because it equals revenue.
I throw NPR on the radio every day on the way to work, and they're making money off Trump's name every day.
Every day.
That's all these networks involved.
He sets the news cycle. He sets the news cycle early in the day, and he is, and his propaganda lasts all the way until he sets the news cycle the next day. He has totally taken over American media. And so whether you're for him or against him, when there's money involved, you're for him, because you're going to make sure that you flood your network with plenty of him, because people are going to look whether they like him or not. It's like a train wreck. You just can't turn away. So when we turn back to this whole DEI conversation, there are many people who really just don't know what it means or know how it works, but they will swear up and down that it affects them and it affects other people who look like them or who live or live with them or whatever, and they think it's a terrible thing. Now, yeah, I don't think that a lot of people really understood or cared about what it was before this past election, unless they were really entrenched in politics and knew about this kind of stuff. But and when I hear people say things like, the Mexicans are taking all our jobs, the Latinos are taking all our jobs, the Asians are taking all our jobs, and I'm thinking like, well, where are you working now?
Yeah, you ain't seen those help wanted posters. You ain't called those numbers and gotten away and gone and just to check if you can get a job.
Yeah, I wish I could be the type of person that only spoke from my personal perspective, because this is what my personal perspective would be. I'm 54 years old. I've managed in every job I've ever had since I was a teenager. And anybody that I've ever had to let go definitely deserved to be fired. And I've never replaced them with somebody of a different gender, color, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Because there's constitutional, because even in the most progressive, and that's why I tried to, sorry to interrupt you, but that's why, like, I meant to mention, like, the school district thing is that even in the most progressive systems, you can think of this, the most Democrat leaning, the most anything in their eyes, the most biased, the most evil thing with this, that still doesn't happen. The people with the most skills still get hired above the people without those skills, and that the only diversity, inclusion, equity a conversation happens in is in the job orientation, the employee handbook, and what you get explained are your legal rights. And that's gone across the board, from FedEx to working in public schools, to working in the postal service, to working in everywhere. That's what DEI is. That's what it represents in the real world.
Right.
A lot of these people don't have jobs, though. You got to remember. And a lot of people haven't had jobs for a while. They don't want to work. Fair enough. I don't want to work. But but you can't accuse them of that directly when people are talking about these things, because that's sensitive.
Yeah. Yeah. So, when we have the president of the United States talking about this whole DEI thing, and then people who don't really understand how DEI works, thinking that they're just talking about racial discrimination, we're all doing ourselves a disservice by not knowing exactly how it works. But when we start when we start seeing who is suffering with these massive layoffs, especially on the federal level, then that gives us a bigger window, and all we have to do is pay attention to who is being affected by this the most. And you're going to see that it's not just black people, it's not just brown people, it's not just Latinos. There are a whole lot of other people that are being affected by this thing. Hold on for just a second.
You have a call from.
Uh-oh. Caller with the last number is 8184. Welcome to the Daily Go Getimism Show. What's on your mind tonight?
No Doug head ass boy.
Say it again. Oh, damn. He hung up. The other caller hung up. Yeah, I mean, the first caller, if you're still listening, please call back in. I don't want to call your number back, but because it's late night. You might have had something that you had to do. Maybe you will finish with the call, but I want to address what Omar was saying. He said, I don't think that's true, son. DEI is a bigger issue for high-level jobs and jobs immigrants are taking. Okay, I'm going to address that. He says it's about giving jobs to people based off of race or meeting quotas instead of who is the best of the best. Not necessarily. He says some government programs require it under Biden, which is why it's a big deal. But here's the thing. the way that it's set up, the way that it's supposed to work is not supposed to give jobs to people just because they are something. It's just supposed to make sure that they aren't discriminated in jobs just because of something. But if you take in the case of Donald Trump, okay, so you want to take away DEI and you want to have people hired based on merit, but then you appoint people and you hire people based that look like you, sound like you, and come from where you are exclusively. So, it's like with healthcare and politics. You say we're going to repeal Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act. Well, this should be a goodie.
You have a call from.
All right, caller with the last numbers 5639. Hold on, just a second. All right.
Okay.
So, like I was saying, like you talk about repeal and replace Obamacare, but you don't have anything to replace it with. So it's really just a talking point for you. So you know that your people don't want to have anything to do with any type of programs that Democrats, particularly somebody like Barack Obama, has developed. So you in order to get votes or in order to get support, you say that you're going to take it away, but you don't have anything to replace it with. And that's the real problem. I don't mind good bad ideas being replaced with good ideas, but when you don't have any plans for anything better, but you just want to remove something, and you're not allowing people to follow the money for where things are going, because any federal program is funded. There are budgets for these kinds of things. People who aren't in management don't always think about this kind of stuff. But yeah, so if it's a federal program, that means it receives federal funds. So if you take it away, where's the money that was allocated to those programs go? Now that's one of the problems. One of the biggest problems that people are having with the elimination of DEI and with this whole thing going on with Elon Musk and the Doge thing. Okay, you are uncovering fraud in politics. You're kidding me. Wow. Yeah, you got 34 felony convictions. So I'm really surprised that you would know anything, like Donald Trump would know anything about fraud and waste. So you left the country in the biggest deficit than any other president, hands down. Nobody even comes close, and you were convicted because you don't know how to keep your mouth shut. But but we're supposed to trust you when it comes to fraud and waste. Houston, we have a problem, and it's large. Okay, wait a minute. Let me take away this here. Okay, Andre Goodson says, so does this rival affirmative action? Affirmative action actually gave opportunities to people. Like, I got into Penn State because of affirmative action. And it was because Penn State was notorious for rejecting black students historically. For so long, even though it was just a state school, they would not accept black people to be students, whether they had the money or not. So affirmative action was different than DEI, because affirmative action said, well, look, we're going to give you a shot. It really wasn't based on your qualifications. There were a lot of people who may not have who may not have met the criteria to get into certain schools and certain jobs and things like that. But there were also reasons that they didn't meet the qualifications that were used to determine whether some people got in or got out. So they basically had to pay a debt. And affirmative action worked for a lot of people. It really did. 5-star general. What was he? 4-star or five-star general? Colin Powell. Colin Powell was actually an affirmative action, general. But you don't. He didn't become general first. General first, but the military, the army of the United States didn't used to let black people fight. They didn't let them, work in certain jobs. They wouldn't train them. It was notorious. They were notorious for discrimination. So you have to pay back when it comes to that. Sometimes it's not going to work out well. But how well did it work out when you were just taking white people just because they were white? White males. It wasn't just anybody white, because they weren't taking white females. They weren't taking white gay men. It was white males. White Anglo-Saxon Protestants. Not even necessarily Eastern Europeans and things like that. So sometimes you got to make a move. And the move that gets made isn't always the best thing. But hey, you took my money, you got to pay it back. All right, let me see. It says, but if you tax companies if they don't have certain diversity or withhold benefits, that's a problem. I think we should create more equality and opportunity, not in the end result. It says Omar says DEI is handing out gifts instead of solving the root of the problem. Okay, you know what? It always raises my antennas when anybody starts talking about our taxes, because I don't fucking know where our tax money goes. I really don't. I would love for somebody to really tell me where the tax money goes. Just the IRS. They don't have to be investigated. They don't have to open up their books and all that kind of shit. And from what I understand, 47 is trying to change all of that or whatever. But I don't believe him. He said that in his first term. I don't believe him. But yeah, I don't believe in higher taxes or what taxes affect the middle class more than anybody else. The middle class and the lower class more than anybody else. We're the ones who pay all the taxes. Businesses, especially major corporations, they don't really pay taxes, and that's just facts. That's why when anybody starts talking about them paying their fair share, the right starts bitching like crazy, because they're like, shit, we ain't paying nothing. And that's the way the tax code was set up, and we're gonna use it that way. I get it. Okay, call on the line. The last number is 5639. Welcome to the Daily Go Getimism Show. Thank you for holding. What's on your mind tonight? What's good?
Thanks for having me, son. I think it's go ahead. Okay. I think this is a great topic. I just want to add my spin on it, because I think there is a lot of confusion with this whole DEI thing that this person, and I use the term loosely, has put out as a buzzword, and like everybody says it out of their mouth. Mm-hmm. Like, and use that as a weapon, and everybody used it as a weapon against what it really meant. Mm-hmm. And they're using the same thing, because DEI really began back in the First Civil War. And it was about allowing veterans from the war to come in and get jobs, and for their widows to get jobs. And then later on came down the line with the introduction of the Randolph-Shepard Act, which mandated federal government to give preference to purchase products made by blind people. And then later on was used to put in effect affirmative action. So it's always existed in this country, but this man used it to weaponize a lot of things, and then a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon without any understanding. They just went by the buzzword. And I say that because I know there's this big protest coming up where people are saying, don't shop, blah, blah, blah. We don't support Target. We don't support this company. We don't support that company. We're going to boycott. And this is what I'm saying to Black people and Black women specifically. This whole thought to boycott is ineffective. And people say, well, it's going to work because it worked back during the march with Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks and so on. That works because there were no Black people working in those businesses. And it was very little women working in those businesses. So that's why it's effective. It's not effective now when you have both and everyone working in these spaces. It doesn't benefit anyone. That's first and foremost. Secondly, this whole concept of I'm not going to support Target or Walmart or any of these companies because they are removing DEI from their business acumen and they're not going to sell Black products, so they're not going to sell women-owned products, so they're not going to sell products for the LGBTQ plus community. Well, that's inaccurate. First and foremost, most of these businesses have always sold products from different groups, different minority groups. They have always been on the shelves. They will still remain on the shelf after this man says whatever he says and what these people say they're going to do to align with this man's policies to avoid whatever hell he wants to rain on these businesses. An example is before the term became a buzzword, there are particular women and Black owned and LGBTQ plus owned businesses that have always been on store shelves. For example, Shea Moisture, before it was sold, was a Black owned business. It was on the shelf in Target, Walmart, on Amazon, all these places that people want to boycott. Lip Bar. Lip Bar has been there since the moment these ladies were disrespected on Shark Tank. Their lip line has been in Target, Walmart, Amazon, all these places long before this term became a buzzword. And that's the thing, this buzzword has taken off and it makes people feel diminished and small. And instead of standing up and saying, this means nothing, it's just a buzzword, everyone shrinks to it and yields to it. And then it becomes something that just takes over and makes you feel small and little and nothing, and it takes away, it gives energy to something that's nothing. The whole phrase is nothing at the end of the day because it's always existed in this country. And I think people fail at getting knowledge before they jump on the bandwagon. I hear what Omar I saw what he said in the chat, and I hate that. And I think Omar is a very smart person, and I enjoy his comments in the chat. But I think to say that it's giving away something, it's like people aren't deserving of whatever they're getting. That's what you're saying when you say that. It's not giving anything to anyone. We have a world full of hardworking people from all backgrounds, from all walks of life. When you see people working at Walmart, do you think they really want to work at Walmart? Do you think they were just given a chance to work at Walmart because, oh, I want to work there? No. They have to work there. And it's not about somebody coming to this country, which at the end of the day, all of us are immigrants in this space. Mm-hmm. All of us are. Nobody's coming taking jobs from anybody. That's the reality. Because a lot of the jobs American people don't even fucking want or want to do. And I don't want to be mean when I say this, and I don't want to sound racist when I say this, but it is what it is. A lot of professional white men are going to do half the jobs that everybody else is doing. That includes women, that includes Hispanic people, Venezuelan people, Colombian, Black, Puerto Rican, every ethnicity, and the LGBTQ plus community. Like right now, this man who claimed he had bone spurs and none of his fucking children have ever been in the military. However, I have a cousin who's Black, female, and gay, who goes and fights her ass off for this country, she and her wife. for this raggedy ass country that doesn't even respect her as anything. So no, nothing is given, but everything is taken. When people understand what that means and stop giving it life when it's always been here, then we can take that power back.
You know, he actually comes from a long line of draft dodgers.
I know.
He came from, his grandparents came from like Germany and shit, because they didn't want to fight. Like, it was like, yo, they've been ducking war for a long time. That's why I think it's interesting that he's supposed to be the macho president and like the strong man. I'm like, him? He a pussy. Like,
his response to stuff is like a little girl. His response is like a little fucking 6-year-old girl having a tantrum, and that's a fact.
It's definitely not no masculine shit. He don't.
No.
That ain't. I'm like, y'all, you gotta be kidding me.
He's just bitchy. He's just bitchy at the end of the day. And all the men who bend and get on their knees to suck his dick are bitchy too. Because I'm going to tell you, I don't know any man, I don't know any real men who would allow this bastard or any other person on this planet to disrespect their wives and their family and then go and kiss ass. I don't know any real men who do that. I'm sorry, I don't.
Yeah, it's an interesting phenomenon. But let me ask you this. All right. Okay, so do you know who? Okay, DEI excludes white men. The person, the group,
unless they're gay at that point.
Unless they're gay. So so like I said, it excludes white men. All right. So but it benefits the most white women. And a lot of white women didn't understand DEI. They didn't know what it meant exactly. They thought it was on some black or Hispanic shit. And so when they lost their jobs, or should I say when they're losing their jobs now, they got their mouth all agape. Like, what the hell? They just finding out that, yeah, you are DEI hire. And it's very eye-opening for them. And not in a good way. They don't like it. But hey, it is what it is. Let me ask you this: have you ever?
Well, wait a minute. Let me respond to that.
Okay.
That's because they've always had a misunderstanding. Like even the women's feminist movement, it wasn't about all women.
Right.
It was about white women.
Right.
So they've always had a misunderstanding.
It ain't changed. It still is.
Yeah, exactly. And even in this DEI thing, they really ought to benefit from it the way they're expressing, the way he's putting it out here. Because what they don't realize is they will have to take 10 steps back too. Not only do they want them to lose their jobs, but they want them at home in the kitchen. That's what they want them to do, in the kitchen and in the bedroom. They don't want them to have jobs at all. They don't want them to leave relationships where they're being abused and disrespected. They want them to leave relationships where they're treated as concubines. They don't want them to leave relationships because they are just supposed to be there to take care of the home and raise some kids. So they take a step back too. And for whatever reason, they didn't listen to the message or it wasn't expressed clearly enough. So they too are part of it because they too are female. Mm-hmm. So they become a part of that too. And that's because no one again understood it. And even back in the 1800s, when it first was introduced to this faith, these women received some kind of something from it because they were widows of veterans or men killed in war in the U.S. First Civil War. So they received a little bit of something from it, and that was just to allow them to work, to be able to afford living and a lifestyle because their husbands were killed. And even in that, they weren't allowed to work to make a living. They were just allowed to work to keep a roof over their heads and raise some boys so they could put them into the military. That's all that it was about. So they too are taking steps back, and they were confused in it.
Well, because they have developed certain programs for themselves, I guess they reserve the right to not know exactly how it works. It's just like Black history versus, I don't know, white history, which is just called history. You like, white people think that they have a history that they should be proud of no matter what they've done, and Black people think that they have a history that they should be ashamed of no matter what they've done, and both of them are wrong. You know what I'm saying? But when the power structure is making the rules or developing the programs, of course, the perception of the general public is going to be a certain kind of thing, because we normally give credence or lend respect to whoever created something, even if they created it out of an ill spirit or something like that. So yeah, this whole what I wanted to ask you is, but like sometimes I have to be reminded about how discrimination works, because most of the discrimination that I'm aware of is sort of like a more of a systemic discrimination. It's more like an underground thing. It's not normally outright. This is not the Jim Crow era. You know what I'm saying? So, but I wanted to know: Have you ever felt like you were being discriminated against at any point in your life, whether it was school, work, recreation, or whatever? Have you ever experienced anything like that?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course, we're from the same age group. So, we were part of that group of children who were, well, I don't know what they did there, but I know here I was the first group of Black children in my neighborhood bused to a township school system. And it was a different experience. It was a brand new experience. And it made it even more difficult because, I'm white. And sometimes people are confused to my ethnicity. And that didn't help the situation. That was an experience that I will never forget, because I went from walking to school to in 5 minutes to taking a bus that was an hour and a half drive from my home, and going to a place far away. There was only one of two other children in my class like me, and experiencing racism the first time. Like, I never heard the word nigger until we were bused away. I never seen a Klansman up close until we were bused away. I never seen a cross burned until then. So, yeah, we experienced that. And especially being a woman, that's the other side of it. As a woman, it's a whole different ballgame. Even this whole thing about abortions and women, that's to take rights away from women. Even right now here in my state, this idiot governor who is best friends with this orange psychopath, he has put an executive order in place where if a woman can't prove that she's been raped, if the court of law can't prove that the man raped this woman, then the woman will basically have to do some jail time because she openly lied. So, yeah, as a woman, I've experienced some of these things. As a Black woman, I've experienced these things. As a light Black woman, I've experienced this from both sides. So, see, it's kind of an attack both ways, because unfortunately, sometimes we are our own worst enemy as well. Because I grew up hearing, even within my own family, well, she thinks she's better than somebody because she's white, or she thinks she's better than somebody because she has light eyes. And none of that is true. That's never been my personality ever, but that's how people felt. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, you can't always control people's perception of you. You know, that's just something that we have to deal with sometimes. You know, but the reason that I asked you if you ever felt discriminated against is because there are levels to this thing. You know, like I guess sometimes when I think about discrimination, I think about somebody being a little rude and ignorant and you know, just outright with it, and that's not always the way it happens. You know, the best discrimination happens behind the scenes. Is normally systemic. It happens in back rooms. You know, there are private conversations where it's said who should be hired and who shouldn't, who should be allowed in and who the doors will be closed to. You know, so when I think about the question that I asked you, I have to ask myself, like, have there ever been times when I felt discriminated against? Of course, there may have been times when I felt like I was discriminated against, but if you want ironclad proof of it, I'm not so sure that I've been in those circles. Now, when I was growing up, there was a country club right around the corner from where I lived, and it was called the Germantown Cricket Club. Now I have to recognize it as the Germantown Cricket Club because there was another cricket club called the Philadelphia Cricket Club, and they weren't close together. So I lived around the corner from the Germantown Cricket Club, and the cricket club had nothing but white people in it. And around the way, we all thought that no black people were allowed to you know, join the cricket club. But the truth of the matter is, the cricket club was expensive as hell. It was a country club. You know what I'm saying? So one of our neighbors actually joined the cricket club. He had the money to join it. So we actually saw him up there. We're like, oh, Mr. George is at the cricket club? And Mr. George is looking like, yeah. What's the big deal? You know, because we were kids and we didn't understand. So we believed our own hype. We didn't know. Now, there were probably other black people up there too, but we didn't see it because the way it was sort of a gated thing, you know, so it wasn't like it was a big park and you just strolled on in there off of the streets. You had to be let in and whatever. But I don't know if they had some type of if they had discriminatory practices at all. I've actually been on the premises before, but I mean, it's a private club. So if you're a member, and I mean, I've never heard anything about them, you know, not allowing black people to become members or whatever. But it was an expensive country club. So I may have felt like we were being discriminated against, but I was young and didn't know a lot about it. And to this day, I don't know a whole lot about it. I mean, I never really wanted to join a cricket club. I mean, a country club in the first place. You know, they played golf and tennis, and they had a pool up there and stuff like that. And we used to see the kids up there. You know, they doing their thing. Their parents were affluent. They had money. They had country club money. Our parents didn't have country club money. We had YMCA money. That was good. That was good. Well, that's what we had. We got a membership to the Y, baby. You know what I'm saying? They got a pool, basketball court, you know, weightlifting, everything. I'm gonna learn karate. But yeah.
But see, keep in mind, you are in Philly and I'm in a Klan state. I'm in a proud Klan state at that.
Yeah.
You know, we're the last one of the Mohicans for anything. Like, weed is still not legal in my state, and it probably will never be for a while. And this is a state that's consistently Republican. So, and claim to be conservative, but that's a whole other story. So, the racism is a little more open. It's a little more, it's a lot less pat you on the back and pretend than, it has Southern roots to it. So they don't mind telling you. An example would be at the grocery store one day, this woman who had to be 172,000 years old. She was there with, I'm assuming her husband, who was probably, I don't know, 16,000, and an Indian woman. And I walk into the store, and she watches me, and then she takes a little old ass crypt keeper finger and points in my direction and says, that's the reason why the neighborhood is going to hell. I looked to my side. I'm like, there's nobody else over here but the fire department. This bitch talking about me. And I said, I'll be nice because she's old. But she kept talking.
Yeah.
And then I had to go over to her and have a conversation. And I said, are you talking about me? And before I could even get the full sentence out, she said, I've been in this neighborhood 25 years, blah, 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 blah. I said, bitch, my son's been here since I've been on this earth.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are you talking about? It seems like you're the negative person in this neighborhood. And her husband walked away, and her friend walked away and left her, abandoned her because they were embarrassed, surely. And then she just shut up and looked stupid. And then I had to leave because I was so angry, and I wanted to push her ass down.
I know you
did. So that kind of, I don't like that. You know what I'm saying? I know it was hard for my grandparents in this neighborhood when they first moved in, because there weren't a lot of black people, and the black families who are here now in this section are the same ones who were here when my grandparents first moved in, and it was hard for them. But fortunately, this was a mixed community, and it was enough mature, humane people here who didn't look at men first. It was a mix of black, white, Jewish, Puerto Rican, Greek. It was just a nice mix of people. So that withstood any kind of problems my grandparents had when they first moved in, because it was a community that fought together. And we have seen a lot of things. We did see a semi-race war over here. We did have the police come in and do a lot of stuff because they were out of line and the neighborhood didn't withstand it. So knowing that we were being discriminated against, it was so open. We had a store where a white owner who was comfortable saying, you black kids can't come in here. You black kids can't come in my store. He was comfortable saying that. And I was the type who went home and told my mother what he said. And then she and my uncle and other people went up there and checked him. And then his store was closed because he couldn't get any business. Mm. So they were comfortable to say that here. And like I said, we were bused out to a school where these people were comfortable saying, you nigger kids go home and all the things. So this is in the 70s. So, you know, it's different. It's different. It's different in this state. And I'm not saying it's special. I'm not saying it's a monolith. I'm not saying anything like that. But it's just more reminiscent of Southern roots. It's more reminiscent of what happened in the South. But again, this is a Klan state. The Grand Wizard, Grand Dragon, whatever the hell, lived here, had a whole neighborhood here. This is where David Duke would come and have his fucking get-togethers and all this kind of stuff. So this is a place that they don't care what they say. They don't care how they treat you. And they're in their face. But the problem with that is we don't care either. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole generation of youth who's just as angry times 10. So, and this also was the place for a Black Panther Party unit as well. So they didn't stand a chance like that. And they still don't.
You know, whenever I used to think of Indiana, I used to only think about Notre Dame corn and Children of the Corn. That was in Indiana, Children of the Corps. That's what I never forgot that shit. I'm like, yo, Children of the Corps, yeah, fucking Indiana. You know, so but it's funny because when I went to go see my peoples in Wisconsin, that's when I saw. I mean, there's plenty of racism in Philly, but we weren't as there wasn't as much segregation. Like they kind of had to put up with us because we were populated. You know what I'm saying? So even though they were, let's say back in the day when we were the fourth largest city, we had 2 million people. So it might have been 1 million white, it might have been 1 million black. You know, for all we know. You know what I mean? We definitely had a presence. But when I went to Milwaukee, it was the segregation was really obvious because it looked like my family had accepted that, you know, white people get this and you have to settle for the scraps. And I'm thinking like, and as a kid, I'm thinking like this is odd. You know what I mean? I ain't really with this shit. You know what I'm saying? So and it may not be as much like that now, but you know, when you look at the demographic of Wisconsin, I don't see how it could be that much different. You know what I mean? You look at like the Green Bay Packers, you don't really think about what Green Bay is or what it looks like or who's there. But it ain't an easy place for even the players and coaches to live in if they're black. But you know, so you know, racism and discrimination is something that we've had to live with, regardless of whether you accepted it or not. But you know, getting back to this whole DEI thing, I think programs like this are always going to have their problems, but they have provided some solutions on some levels. You're not going to have a panacea. You're not going to have any programs that deal with money that are going to solve all problems dealing with money. It's just not going to happen. And that's whether you're talking about jobs, whether you're talking about education, whether you're talking about recreation, whether you're talking about medical or health or anything like that. There are always going to be problems where there's money. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to take the money as the root of all evil, but it definitely is the root of all greed.
Mm-hmm.
And where there's a lot of money that nobody is checking on, there's going to be somebody's going to take something. Shit, I would do it myself.
Well, it's not so much that it's really the love of money that's the root of all evil. It's not just money; it's the love of money. And to me, it's really more the lust of money, because you can't love something that it just, that's not love. That's lust. That's just a form of lust. That's all that is. Because to love money means you respect it and you respect the power of it. And people who lust at it for gain and ill gain, that's there's no love there. There's no respect there. So it can't be love. It's just the lust for it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's a whole different topic, but you know.
Yeah. When I was watching the news and when this past presidential election, and I'm hearing all this stuff about DEI. I'm like, damn, for the past 4 years, I haven't had to really hear about this whole DEI thing. You know what I mean? So, you know, when you start taking a look at it, you start seeing, you know, who it affects and who benefits from it and who it excludes and who it includes and why some say it's good, why some people say it's bad, want to eliminate the whole thing, but they may be practicing the same thing. Yeah.
Well, it's
in many ways.
That's how they turn up to a buzzword and then maybe negative.
Well, see, the problem I have with it is that they say that when you're talking about DEI, you're not talking about people who are really qualified for their positions. All right, and you don't really have a basis for saying that. But you just throw it out there, just like saying I'm the best president since Abraham Lincoln. You know, and some people are going to actually grasp onto that to that notion, even though it may not, there might not be a shred of proof to support it. So when I think about the whole DEI thing, you want to eliminate that, and you want to say that you want a meritorious hiring practices. So your or advancement practices. So you only will get hired and move up in position because of the work that you've done and the qualifications that you've had. But that doesn't really make any sense when you see the list of his cabinet picks. Like, that totally goes against everything that you were talking about as far as merit is concerned.
Exactly.
I mean,
you have a cabinet full of idiots. You might have a handful of people who may be semi-qualified, but the rest are just morons who, I'm sure my cat could do a better job. Look at Hegseth. This bastard's on camera in front of the world just drinking.
Yeah.
So I'm saying he has no clue about him. He's probably gonna crash out soon. Well, he got RFK psychopath ass. He's gonna crash out soon. I believe this idiot president is gonna crash out soon because he doesn't know how to deal with what he's doing. He has no mental capacity to wrap his teeny tiny useless brain around anything that matters of any kind of logic. He is so hungry and thirsty for a title and some kind of recognition that he's going to crash out too.
Well,
but see, by the time that happens, it's going to be a lot of casualties. We're dealing in a bunch of casualties right now, unfortunately. It's sad. It's very sad. It's inhumane. It's disgusting. It's every word negative that you can think of. And it's not just affecting us in this country. It's affecting the world. He is a global disaster, and his team is a global disaster. And it's a whole bunch of incompetency taking place, and these people who voted this man in or allowed him to sneak in or whatever the hell happened, everybody is going to be a part of the residual of bad information, of misjudgment, of pointing the finger, of picking someone based on their own personal gains. Here we all are in the midst of unnecessary chaos, and it is going to affect everyone. And for these people who think it's not going to affect them, it absolutely will, because everything that happens in this space, every action has a reaction. There is no way around it. That is the way of life.
Well, yeah, this country was built on certain things. And I know a lot of people don't like it.
All race, theft, greed, lust, and racism.
So, yeah, that's our foundation. That's our foundation. So I don't know why people are acting crazy or so surprised when it reinforces those principles. I don't get it. I don't get it. Like you never saw this.
Of the forefathers. He is the son of the forefathers. That is a fact. He is the son of the forefathers. Everything that these people brought into this space, he is the son of that. Unfortunately, he's not the son of anything from this country. That's the sad part about it. So everything he says, he's not even the son of this country in the sense of being an actual American.
Well, let me ask you this. Going back to the cabinet picks thing. So who you think is worse? Pete Hegseth or Linda McMahon?
I didn't even understand. I didn't even understand how Linda McMahon. I still can't wrap my brain around that because what? But how did that happen? How did that happen? Why did it happen?
So you gonna say merit on one breath, and then Linda McMahon for the Department of Education? Are you crazy?
Exactly. Where is she qualified? Where is she qualified?
Well,
I think the only person who may be qualified, it's so sad. I give nicknames. I can't even think the lady's real name because I call her 1920. Is it Susie Wild? Is that her name? I can't think of her name. She is his.
I don't know. I don't like none of them.
Advisor or something. I don't know. She might be semi-qualified. But I think she's on her way out the door because she doesn't vibe with Elon, so it's just a matter of time before she's out the door.
Wow. Yeah, Elon.
I don't think he has anybody qualified, to be honest. Not fully qualified. Like, he doesn't have people who come in with experience in dealing with things on the scale that a president or a president cabinet or Congress would have to deal with. He just doesn't. Like, that's why when all these disasters have happened and Excess was on the stage where he has to answer questions about stuff, he just stuttered through like a fool. Because that's what he is, a stuttering fool.
I don't even know those.
Stuttering fool.
What's the purpose of those hearings? Those hearings be making it look like there's no way this guy's going to get confirmed. And what happens the next day?
And then they get confirmed.
I'm like, what is this? What are we doing? Why did you show this?
Why you take up time and waste my time on the TV?
That's what I'm saying. I don't get it.
When my cat could be watching this cartoon, you wasting time with this pretend confirming that you go confirm somebody.
I'm thinking like, yo, am I missing footage of when he answered all the questions correctly? Or, you know what I mean? Like, there has to be some balance because the only footage I'm seeing is this dude sounding dumb, looking dumb, not being RFK. I'm like, what the hell? Like, so I'm seeing this tape. They don't know nothing. They can't. They're either avoiding questions, giving vague answers, or totally in the dark about what the answers are. And you're looking like, oh, there's no way this person is getting confirmed. This is a wrap. And every last one of them have gotten confirmed. Every last motherfucker. You look at what's the dude with the dark hair, who had the problem with all of the young girls and all that old crazy shit. The one that had.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, what's his name? The one that had to drop out.
Is it Mark Rubio? Is it Mark Rubio? Is that his name?
No, not Rubio. He was being considered. He was a cabinet pick. Let's see, what does he look like? Because he's a strange looking dude.
I think all of them strange.
Only one of them had the.
Oh, you're talking about Matt Gaetz.
Matt Gaetz.
Yeah, you're talking about Matt Gaetz. I had to think about it for a minute. You're talking about Matt. Marco Rubio is the one who might be has some Latin roots to
the one Trump used to call little Mark. Yeah. Anyway, I'm thinking like, what did Matt Gaetz have to do to not be confirmed? He had to actually drop out. He would have got confirmed along with everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He was trying to be the attorney general. That's what he was going for, be the attorney general.
Yeah, I'm like, what are we doing? Like, what are they showing us this shit for? It's like losing the Super Bowl over bad calls. Like,
exactly.
We should have won, but y'all showed us this shit like it's like, nah, he ain't gonna get confirmed. They gonna have to fight. They gonna have to find somebody else. Next day, yeah, it looks like he's.
Like, what are we doing? Why do we waste this time? We just wasted a bunch of time on nothing. On not a damn thing. We just wasted time talking about nothing, getting people's hopes up for nothing. That's why I don't get my hopes up for shit anymore.
Matt Gaetz is probably
the only thing I'm waiting for is I don't believe this man is going to survive 4 years. I do believe he's out of two, and I don't mean because he's going to be impeached. I just think he's going to crash out. He's not going to be able to survive. He looks withered and exhausted right now. So I don't think he's going to make it a full two. And unfortunately, he's probably going to crash out because he has set himself up in a trap. And as quiet as he's kept, he thinks every place is afraid of the United States, and that is an absolute complete lie. None of these places are afraid of the United States. They see the weakness in him, and they are going to devour every ounce of it in him before it's all said and done. And unfortunately, we just gonna ride the wave with it.
Right. Now, in the comments, Perp says he had to drop out. Talking about Matt Gaetz, he had to drop out because no one liked him. He was a likable person. If he was a likable person, he would have been confirmed. The thing is, I'm thinking like, I don't know if I'm Matt Gaetz, I'm at home like, yo, I should have hung in there.
No, I don't think there was too many in that party who were against him. He messed up the flow. See, I believe they all were in that boys' club of perversion together. And Matt Gaetz he talked too much. You know how you have a group and everybody has a secret in the circle, but you got one who talks too much, then you stop telling them because they talk too much and tell out a secret. Like my cousin was one of them people. She talked too much, so we stopped including her in all the fun stuff because she talks too damn much. You gonna get everybody in trouble? How about we don't include you? Now we don't get in trouble. You miss out. So that's what it was. Matt Gaetz talked too much and shared too much information because he was cocky. Yeah, I'm messing with these kids. I'm messing with these little girls. And he told all the business, all the secrets, and he was bringing heat to the door. And they said, well, just keep him on the other side. Because he giving out too much of our secrets. So we can't include him in our party anymore. He's not part of the club. That's all that was. It wasn't even so much they didn't like him, as he talked too damn much. So they didn't want to include him.
But his boss talked too much.
Yeah, he's a girl, so of course he talked too much. But see, he's all of them are in his pocket for whatever reason. I don't know if he got dirt on him. I don't know what it is, but I tell you what, he can have dirt on me because I would eat that ass up something terrible. My mouth would be so reckless with him, he would not be able to shut up. He would probably have to assassinate me because I wouldn't be able to stop talking. But see, he's a girl, and all of them are scared of him because they put him in it's like a game. They have this one person who's the leader of the gang, and everybody's afraid of the leader of the gang. When it's like it's so many, y'all have to take the leader down. See, these fools don't know that. But you got somebody like the Prince in Saudi Arabia. You have somebody like Putin. You have somebody like Elon. You have somebody like Xi Jinping. Somebody like Kim Jong-un. All those people don't give a damn about that. They don't give a fuck about being in the club. They don't care about being his friend. They don't care about him being in power. They just know at the end of the day, the leopards will eat his face and him in entirety.
I don't know. How is Elon not a DEI hire?
Oh, he absolutely. He's a something. I don't know about that character. He's something. But how about he's not a hire? Remember, they just had to go to court and say openly that not only is he not the head of Doge, but he's not even an employee of Doge. He has no role in Doge. They had to say that in court.
Trump just said that. Trump reiterated that he was the head of the joint.
Exactly.
He keeps throwing him under the bus. Like, yo. Don't say that. Just say he's an advisor. Oh, yeah, he's just an advisor. But it's his team.
He went in the interview and he was like, now, you want to explain what your team is doing? And then he had to say something. But in court, you had to say he's not anybody. So now which one is it? So he's aligning himself to be impeached. Yeah, he's stupid. But he's also aligning all of them to go to jail for treason. So I want him to keep talking. See, that's the problem. He is a girl who don't know how to shut up either. He don't know how to keep secrets because he's an idiot. See, that's the difference. Matt Gates tells secrets because he's cocky. This one tells secrets just because he's an idiot and doesn't understand. And he likes to say stuff and boast and brag about stuff that he is clueless about. Like, if you listen to him really talk, he just did a speech the other night when he slipped in some new executive orders. When he slipped those in the middle of the night at 12 midnight, he the next day they're asking him questions about him, and he says, it's like listening to somebody. It's like listening to a kid talk.
Wild.
It's like,
wild as hell.
The biggest ones are coming back to the United States. The biggest ever are coming back to the United States, and they're going to do so much stuff. Well, what stuff are they going to do? You're going to see it's going to be big stuff. Well, what big stuff? He can't even tell you. That's like saying a kid come on and said, can my friend come over? What's your friend's name, friend? What's your friend's last name? I don't know, friend. What's that going to do? Play with toys and stuff? Well, what toys? I don't know, toys. That's what it's like listening to him talk.
But they let him get away with this shit.
Everything
they do is all right. This shit is amazing. I'd be like, so ain't nobody gonna say nothing? I mean, like, really, like that's what we doing? Ain't nobody gonna say nothing? Nope.
But didn't he say years ago, that he would step in and play this game and destroy this country? Didn't he say those words years ago?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And they didn't believe him when he said it. They didn't believe him when he said it. In 2014 or 2000? It was 2014, I think I made the post about him becoming president. People were like, it's so funny how I said he would do it one day. And lo and behold, 2 years later, what did he do? He became the president. Ran in 2015, became the president in 2016, and here fuck it is, 2025, and he's the president again. We have not been able to get rid of this bastard since 2015.
Not at all. He would not go away.
No. And now he's trying to become a permanent fixture because he wants to be forever president. And guess what? If we're not careful, he will be. Because people want to say he's not going to be able to do, every time they say he's not going to be able to do, he's doing it while you're getting the sentence out of your mouth.
Yep.
And guess what? He's never been in trouble for anything he's done. So I don't put it past him.
Not at all.
So there's a chance he could become the forever president.
I mean, he said it. He said this is how it's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have no reason
and to. Exactly as he said. Even right now, he's being met with blocks for his executive orders. He is still moving things along like that's a fly on his shoulder, and he just brushed it off and it flew away. Mm. That is how he's treating it. This is a judge blocking me. Anyway, on to the next, and then I'll walk back around to this.
Yeah.
I haven't said it right. He's 80 years old. Who becomes a dictator at 80? That's a good question, because who? Why, Sway? Why? Well, why would an 80-year-old man... My dad is 2 years older than him, and he's like, this... Well, I ain't going to say the words my dad says, but he's not so nice about it. He doesn't understand. He's like, why would anybody want to even be the president at 70 years old?
Well, there's something about turning 80 years old, that anybody under 80 cannot really understand. But certain things start to take place with a person's body and mind at 80 years old, and it's going to be undeniable. But I'll say this. He has people around him who believe in that shit that he's saying and believe in the things that he's doing. And that's just something that we just don't have to deal with. We don't have to deal with it. And we're dealing with it. And it's a tough situation, but it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse before it gets better. So
That's the heartbreaking part.
Yeah, I don't think we
That's
ain't
the
seen
heartbreaking part.
shit yet.
Yeah,
It's about to
even
get
now
dark.
when we see all this tragedy going on from state to state, from natural disasters, from the planes crashing, from the weather, the fires, the train catching fire, all of these things that are happening is very disheartening and it's very heartbreaking and it's very sad, and I'll never adjust to it. Even the mass destruction that he's causing in every other country. You know, I work with people all around the globe. The bulk of my team is from Puerto Rico and the Philippines, and they too have concerns because what he's doing is affecting where they live. And it's just very disheartening to have somebody with that much power. It's very scary. It is.
Yeah.
It's like your nightmares coming to life and no one is prepared for it because none of us who live right now have ever experienced it. Somebody with so much power that they have control to destroy on a global level it's a nightmare that we're living awake.
It's definitely some shit.
Yeah.
It's going down. But you know, like I said, it's like a train wreck. You really just can't turn it off. He's on your devices all day, and that's definitely by design. So you're going to be saturated with this motherfucker, whether you like it or not, whether you feeling it or not, whether you ain't gonna be able to turn it off. It's gonna be like your TV is running on a battery even when you unplug it. That's how bad it is, and it's meant to be that way. Like basically, everybody else is going to have to submit to this motherfucker, and it's disgusting. But at the same time, there are some people who are starting to see that they got what they wanted, but they don't really want what they got.
Buyer's remorse.
Yeah, I don't think it's not good enough for me. On some real shit, it's not good enough for me because I'm like, nah, y'all really messed this up. This is bad. This is bad because I don't understand how you can make excuses for somebody that's always into some shit and still rationalize that they're going to do something for you and yours. I just don't. I don't get it. I really don't. I don't get it. But
you know, I have a friend who I've known. We've been friends since we were preteen, and as of the past few weeks, I had to accept that we are no longer going to be friends because of this. Because he is locked into the insanity to the point he really believes the whole kids can go to school and have a surgery for 2 days and come back a different gender. And I'm like, where in your brain is broken that believes that? How do you believe that? And because he believes that, he is stuck on this was the right thing because the Democrats and Kamala and the Democrats did this with the gay and they try to do this to the kids. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? What's really wrong with you? Like at the end of the day, that is, whatever that is, that's a parent's decision to allow. Like, I'm a parent and you're a parent. Do you think either of our children could go to school and not come home the same day and it's just okay? Do you think he's like, well, it happened and we just didn't see it because the media covers it up? I say, sweetheart, you and I both know between the two of us, if that happened to our children, the media would cover it, but the story would be woman goes crazy and massacres school. It would be man goes crazy and massacres family. The families go crazy. and tear up a school.
Mm-hmm.
So what sense that doesn't make logical sense. And this last thing, he sends me this video from the Hindu Times that's stitched together. He's like, some of the stuff we see, because he doesn't believe that the things we see and hear with our eyes and ears are really this man saying this stuff. And he says to me, and I'm sounding cocky when I say it, I'm going to pop my collar and dust off my shoulder when I say, he's saying to me about AI and being a fake. And I'm like, you are telling me about what's fake. Me. So we have a problem. And he sends me this video from somebody on YouTube called Hindu Times, and you can see that it's stitched together. It's a video stitched together, layered, and their thumbnail or their cover photo is a picture of Putin and Xi Jinping and Kim Jong-un and Trump in the front smiling and cheesing. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You didn't learn anything from Tim Scott and Mark Robinson and Byron Donaldson. You didn't learn anything from them three idiots that you don't count, and you still believe everything that this man says to be a fact because you're focused on something to do with the gay community, something to do with the LGBTQ community that's not realistic. This is your mountain that you choose to dig your flag in. This one, not the fact that you are a business owner and you own trucks. You own a truck driving 18-wheeler company, and you keep purchasing trucks, and that this will affect your business. You have children, specifically grandchildren who are girls, and this will affect them. And you, sir, are a black man. You don't think none of this is going to affect you? You don't think none of this is going to hurt you? He's like, well, last time he was in office, my dollar, he made my dollar look good. I said, you absolutely did not, you idiot.
Byron Donalds said that daddy was home.
Well, he learned daddy didn't give a fuck about him. He was the bastard child to daddy, who daddy mistreated.
He referred to Donald Trump as daddy is home.
See how weird that is? See how uncomfortably weird that is? He could not be my man, my son, my brother, my cousin, my daddy, my nothing, because I would lock my damn door. Do not come to this house. Don't ever come. Miss my number. Please remove it from your device. Don't ever talk to me if you see me in the street. If I'm on fire, please don't waste your spit to put out the fire on me. Get your weird, weak ass away from me. Because I don't know any men, and I mean men, and that don't have nothing to do with ethnicity or race. I mean men, period, who would ever call another man daddy who's not their parent.
Well,
unless he's on some LGBTQ, hey daddy. Other than that, no. This man publicly said, daddy's home. And here, Tim Scott, we just knew down the truck. You don't get your ignorant ass. Oh my goodness.
yeah,
I can't even.
it. But remember, Kanye called Trump daddy too.
Listen, I give him a slight pass because Kanye got some issues that need to be addressed and have not been addressed. Them other two, they are on the knee.
I'm not giving him a pass. Anybody who follow that motherfucker, is something wrong with him. Anybody who follow him, something wrong with him. It ain't just Kanye. I ain't giving him no pass. I'm sick of this shit. That motherfucker know how to promote an album. If you know how to promote an album, then you know.
He used to, because it seems like he don't anymore. He just.
Well, him and Trump ain't cool no more. Like,
I don't know. After you say that website was that website with that Nazi shirt on.
I swear to God, boy, I just can't.
You know what's going on?
I fucking can't with this bull. I can't. What are we doing? He is the worst. He is the fucking worst. I like Kanye. Fuck you, dude. Yeah, I'm taking back college dropout and the second. I'm taking y'all go buy these albums back from me. Fuck out of here.
When I saw that, I was like, "Am I okay? Am I right?
This shit is bad, boy."
What is happening here? Well, he's a lost soul too, but
yeah,
he's not like them. Them others are just, I don't know. it just seems like if he say, let me kiss that yourself. They were, okay, sir.
yeah.
When, Daddy? How glad you want me open my mouth? That's what I feel like they would do. I feel like they would do that.
It's bad. It's bad out here. You look. You can't save them all. I'm willing to drown these motherfuckers though. Fuck that. Fuck saving them. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to cut off the air supply. But look, we gotta get on up out of here. All right, listen.
Hi, son.
I appreciate you calling in as always. You have a good night.
You
Get safe.
You too.
All right. Good stuff as always. Indianapolis's finest, Kim's Wims coming through, calling through. All right, y'all, let's do these birthday shout outs and let's get on up out of here. We have some birthday shout outs to do. Some people were born on this glorious February 19th, and they deserve to be acknowledged. So let's go about our business of acknowledging them and making them feel special because they are special, because they are special, because they are S-P-E-C-I-A-L. They get the R-E-S-P-E-C-T. They are S-P-E-C-I-A-L. They get the R-E-S-P-E-C-T. They are S-P-E-C-I-A-L. They get the R-E-S-P-E-C-T. They get number one out the box. My man, going all the way back to the 1984. My man Sekou Dudley. Happy birthday to you, my brother. And also Jessica Lewis. Happy birthday to you and Brittany Alexander. And S. Love Harris. My man Pop G's. Nicole Taliba Muhammad. Tiffany Bear Galati. Last but not least, I want to say happy birthday to all of y'all. And I hope that today finds you all in good health, happiness, mind, body, soul, and spirit. And that goes out to each and every person out there born on this glorious February 19th, anywhere out there in the world, worldwide, internationally, and universally. All of y'all go ahead and turn up. But don't turn up too loud. Just turn up loud enough so everybody can hear you. Rock out, rock on into the damn, the rock out. Rock on into the damn, rock out. Rock on into the damn thing. You do your thing, y'all. Represent the queens and kings. You do your thing, y'all. Represent the queens and kings. Good things happen to those who wait. Great things happen to those who grind. And anything can happen to those who go for theirs. So go hard, go for yours, and remember, oh my God, DUI. I mean, I'm sorry, I said DUI. You know what? Now you might think that's a Freudian slip. I don't drink. I meant DEI. You know, we have our share of polarizing programs that are out there. We have a lot of divisive politics going on now. There's a lot of effort by a lot of different entities that are trying to make sure that people are fighting against each other instead of fighting the power. And it's been that way for a long time, but the technology that's going on right now is really, really ridiculous. I don't know. For me personally, it's hard for me to be all up in arms about something that doesn't hurt me personally. I use the example of food stamps or welfare programs. Yeah, I don't have any I've never been on welfare. I wasn't raised like that, and I don't qualify to be on that. But does that mean that it doesn't affect me in some kind of way because other people who I may know or maybe in my family or I may care about may have to use those programs at some point in their lives. So, sometimes you have to really decide who the enemy is and who your friends are, and you have to take some time out to really identify one or the other, because sometimes you can mistake your friends for being your enemies and mistake your enemies for being your friends. Either way, you want to get your feelings hurt, and it's not going to be a good situation. So I'm going to say stay woke. I saw speaking of woke, I saw a video yesterday of these South Philly Italians talking about something. Philadelphia will never be woke. We never. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? My city ain't never been on that red shit, on that Republican shit. It never, ever, ever, and they never will be. Just because you like Trump doesn't necessarily mean that that's reflective of the city as a whole. And the same way as just because I don't like Trump, it doesn't mean that that's reflective of all of my people or whatever. You're always going to have people who support him in one way and other people who support him or who withdraw support in another way. But when you just look at the numbers, we voted 78.8% Democratic in the past election. We did not vote for Donald Trump in this city. So I don't know what they think woke is, but that's another word that we may have to explore later on, because that's getting all twisted and misconstrued and crazy. Yeah, woke. Okay. Peace to all my day ones, my everydays, and my brand news. I love y'all to death. Resuscitate y'all. Love y'all right back to life. We will be back tomorrow night, 2 a.m. for another Daily Go Getimism show. So make sure y'all come on through. Y'all have a good night tonight. If you're on your way to work, be careful. If you're on your way to bed, sweet dreams. Hit the like button, share the show, subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. Listen, I appreciate y'all all coming through. What's that? Vilo Minilova, and also my people's Bryce D. Thanks for coming through, y'all. Appreciate you. All right, y'all. So I'm gonna holler back. Peace.